Hey guys, it's Melanie here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video sewing tutorial for you guys today. And we are going to bring back the box pouch. So I don't know if you've seen my box pouch tutorial from many years ago now, I think 5 or 6 years ago. Anyway, we're going to do a new one today, but there are no exposed seams on the inside on this tutorial. So I changed the way that I do the construction. I even did several kind of trial runs. Like I didn't like this one. I didn't feel like it opened wide enough. So I've been playing around with this to really trying to make it easy enough for my beginners that want to learn how to make this kind of box pouch, but with no exposed seams. So that's going to be this video. And check out the blog post because I also have this adorable tiny size and then this really nice like large size. So lots of different measurements over on my blog, melaniekaham.com. If you like my videos, don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell so that you're notified for every new video that comes out. Let's jump into the tutorial. Let's make this box pouch. This is gonna be my lining fabric. This is gonna be my outer fabric, the butterflies. We need to cut them 11 wide by 8. So our outer and our lining. Then we also need the same size in fusible fleece. This is gonna be for the pull tabs, these guys. And this piece measures 2.5 by 8. The other thing you need are a 14-inch zipper, coordinating thread, because we are gonna do one little top stitch here, so you want that to coordinate with your fabric. The rest of it will be hidden. You need some good fabric scissors. And I really like using my clover clips for zip pouches, so have some of these. You also need your ironing board and your sewing machine. I did pull my zipper foot out, which is right there, so you do want to have a zipper foot and then like a small ruler or a measuring tape, something like that. All right, so the first thing we need to do is attach our fusible fleece to our outer pieces. So follow the manufacturer's instructions, but typically you don't want to use steam, and you can feel one side is smooth and then one side has these little glue dots. So you want the glue dots onto the wrong side of your fabric. And then I typically hold it there for 10-15 seconds and then sort of move it around, allowing that glue to melt into your fabric. And you want to do that for both outer pieces. All right, so my fusible piece is done. And while I'm standing here at the iron, I like to go ahead and prep my pull tabs. Well, I'm going to fold it in half and hit it with my iron to make a crease. Now when you open it up, you're going to fold the outside into that crease. And then the same on the other side. Then you'll fold it together. One more press. Now it's ready to sew, but I won't have to get back up and go back to the ironing board to do it. So this is really good, but if yours is kind of opening up a little bit, you can clip it or pin it just to keep it nice and secure. We've got our outer piece, our zipper, teeth side down. Take your lining, right sides together of our lining and our outer piece. So we're gonna flip this over, line everything up, and then we're gonna clip. Really make sure all of these edges are nice and lined up. Okay, now before we head to the sewing machine, grab that little ruler that I mentioned before, or your measuring tape, or whatever you have, and we are gonna measure a 1/2 inch from our sides. So if you have a pencil or a pen, a marking tool, I really like this blue one from Clover. So find that 1/2 inch mark, we're gonna measure. And so what we're going to do with that is when we're at the sewing machine, we're going to start at that line, sew down with our zipper foot, and then stop at this line. So that's why we want to mark it ahead of time All right, so let's head to the sewing machine. Just a normal straight stitch, typical stitch length. I've got mine at a 2.4. I do have my zipper foot on my machine. So remember, we're gonna start at the line and stop at our line. And I am gonna back stitch. Okay, now open it up. And then I just like to take a look and make sure it's all looking fine so that I can fix it now if I need to. Grab your other outer piece and your other lining. We're going to take our zipper teeth side down, lining up those edges really well, and then our lining right side or the printed side down. So we're going to line up the sides on both sides and the top and clip it into place. And then we are going to be doing the 1/2 inch thing again, so mark your 1/2 inch on each side. Open it up and check it out, make sure it's looking good. Now we're going to do the same 1/2 inch thing with our top stitch. So make your mark on either side again. Now we're going to sew our top stitch onto our bag. All right, I'm switching back to my regular foot. And what I like to do is use my presser foot to line it up against the folded edge. And then I move my needle position all the way to the left side. That way I can make sure it's really straight going all the way down and that it looks the same on both sides. We're going to back stitch and we're going to start and stop at our marked line. Stopping at that 1/2 inch mark, and if you can't see it, stop with your needle down and lift up your presser foot so that you can see where that line is. And do the same thing on the other side. Just looking under there and checking it out. I need one more stitch. And then while we're here with our nice top stitch thread, we are going to go ahead and sew our pull tabs. So move your needle position into the spot that you want. We want it to go right along the edge, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. And then do the same thing on the other side. So now what we're going to do is put our right sides together and our wrong sides together, and we need to sew them closed. We're going to do this using 1/2 inch seam allowance. So for the outer, we need to go all the way down. So let's do that. Now on the lining, we need to leave a hole because that's how we're going to flip it right side out. So we're going to line it up. I'm just going to put a quick clip here to keep it together. And it needs to be, 4 inches-ish wide, enough so that you can flip it. So I'm going to start down here, I'm going to backstitch. Because sometimes that seam has a little stress as you're pulling everything right side out. All right, then I'm going to go up here to the top. Okay, sew down till you reach about the right spot, backstitch. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the end with the zipper stop, not with the zipper pull end, okay? Because I want you to get one under your belt before doing the other side, which is a little bit more challenging. So let's go to the ironing board and just get everything nice and pressed flat. Okay, now let's flip it over and do our lining also. All right, and we also need to put our tab in here, so I just will fold this in half and cut it with my fabric scissors. So here's one. It's nice and long. We don't need it to be quite this long, although you can if you want. But this gives us extra wiggle room to get it in that seam. Okay, so remember, we're going to be at the sewing machine and we're actually going to be sewing the outer side first. So I'm just going to kind of pin up my lining. Get that out of the way because we're actually going to be pulling back and sewing 3/8 of an inch. So a little measuring lesson here. In 1 inch, so let's look at our 1 inch here, there are 8 marks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So on the 3, so 1, 2, 3, if you know where your 3/8 inch mark is on your machine, you can just do that. But most of us probably don't. So we're gonna double check ourselves and we're gonna make a couple little marks just to make sure we do this right. And so we're gonna do 1, 2, 3. So we need to sew along these marks. So I like to just make several marks. So I'm lining up the outside of my ruler, counting 1, 2, 3 in. That's 3/8 of an inch, even on that zipper. Okay, so I've got my lines marked. Okay, then we're gonna fold our tab. So the fold needs to be coming on the inside, the raw edges lining up. So however much you want your pull tab to come out, clip that into place. Okay, so remember, we're gonna pull back our lining and we're gonna sew down those 3/8 inch marks. And we're doing this on the side of the zipper with the stop. All right, so let's go do it. Okay, so at the machine, this is a little tip because then you won't even have to measure for the other side. What we're gonna do, we're gonna line up the right side of our bag with our presser foot. And then we're gonna just change our needle position to where those marks are. So we need to go to the left. So now I know if I have my needle in this position for the rest of my bag, because we're gonna do this on the other side, then you just line up the outer edge of your bag with your presser foot and you can just go right ahead and do it. You don't have to make the 3/8 inch marks. And don't worry about back stitching because we're gonna be boxing out our bag and so those corners are gonna get cut off anyways. This is a plastic zipper, so I can sew over it. That being said, go nice and slow and be really careful. When you're doing this, we don't want to snap a needle and have it go flying, so do this part really slowly. And we're going to go back and forth a few times to make sure that it's nice and secure. Right, now see, that wasn't so bad. We're gonna go and do it on the other side. Okay, this side is very similar, but we need to open up the zipper, right? Because if we sew it like this, the zipper pull will not be right. Does that make sense? So we need to open it up. We're gonna pin back our lining like we did before. Grab our pull tab and make sure we have that ready. But what's gonna happen is we need to do a much better job of pinning this whole area into place. That way the teeth don't separate as we're sewing. Now remember, we already did our 3/8 inch. We can just go ahead and sew. See, we're not doing too bad here, right? Okay, so now take some non-fabric scissors, just whatever you have, and trim our zipper ends. This time we are going to sew. We'll pin back our outer pieces. And we're gonna sew along our lining, but instead of 3/8 of an inch, it's gonna be 1/4 of an inch. So if you have a 1/4 inch piecing foot, just throw that on there. You don't even have to measure, but just in case you don't, 1/4 of an inch is 2 of the hash marks. And we are gonna sew over the zipper. So really we're gonna try to pull up all this outer as best as we can. Don't worry too much about this, but we're gonna try our best. Okay, this is the trickiest part of the whole bag. I like to have like a purple thing or a stiletto. I'm just telling you right now, this is the trickiest part of the whole project. Right, see that? Seriously, that's the hardest part of the whole bag, okay? So let's go and do the other side. Okay, so now it's time to do our box outs. I'm going to show you how to do one, and then it's the exact same process for 1, 2, 3, 4 corners of your outer part of your pouch, and then you're going to do the exact same thing for 1, 2, 3, 4 of your lining. Now note, if you are making the mini version, when you get to the last couple of box pouch, it's a little tricky to get it through the machine. So just know that that is normal and expected. So that's why I don't recommend doing the mini size. If you're like a beginner, do a few of the medium size first so that you get the hang of it. We need our little ruler again, and we need to measure 1 3/4 inches from our seam to make a little box mark. I'm gonna use my Clover pen again, but you can use a pencil or a pen or whatever you have. And I wanna reiterate that it's from the seam. Okay, because then when you go to pinch your fabric together, it's not going to work right if you do it from the edge. So you want to do it from the seam. So I'm measuring down 3/4 of an inch. And these numbers are different depending on the size you make. And then when you make your marks, then double check yourself and make sure you did it right, because look, my initial line was there and it's supposed to be over here. Okay, so you want it to be 1 3/4 and then 1 3/4. Right up to that corner. Don't cut your lining. Make sure that's out of your way. So again, this is the same on all of those corners. Open it up, and we're gonna pull it so that this is a straight seam. I like to sew my seam going toward the lining. This is where you do want to back stitch. So we're gonna back stitch here. I'm gonna up my seam from 1/4 of an inch, because that's what I had it set on, back to 3/8 of an inch. So what we just did, boxing it out, is this seam. So that is what indicates how tall it's going to be. So when you are doing these box pouches, that is the measurement that you can mess around with a lot to get different results and different kind of size bags. Whether you want like a taller bag or a squattier bag, that is the measurement that you mess with. Do that exact same thing on another 3 sides for your outer bag, and then the lining. Remember, we got our hole here, so that's how we're gonna flip it right side out when we're done. So go ahead and box out your bag. We're almost done. We're in the home stretch. All right, so here's how it's looking. It kind of looks like a big ball of a mess. I want to show you just how I do the last one, because that's the trickiest one. Really want you to make sure that you're double checking before you're cutting into things and before you're sewing, that you're only doing it on the thing you want to, because sometimes things kind of get underneath you, and I don't want you cutting anything that you've already sewn together. And if you do one of these and you feel like this part was a little fussy for you, just shorten that box a bit, and that'll make it a little bit easier for next time. Sometimes it's easier if you open up the zipper all the way, because then there's nothing stiff inside. And also, I want to remind you, when you're doing your lining, this is the inside seam, like the wrong side seam of your lining, which is inside your bag. So as long as this seam is secure and will uphold, you know, opening it and closing it and putting things in here, it doesn't have to be the prettiest thing, okay? All right, moment of truth. Let's open it up. Before we sew this closed, let's pop our fingers in here, and we're gonna kind of work on those corners and box it out. I like to look at my pull tabs, my zipper, and just make sure that, can you hear my dog? And make sure that if there's anything that needs to be fixed, now is the time to do it, because once we sew the lining closed, it's going to be much more difficult. And because we gave that a press, this is all just nicely laying flat together anyways. I like to mark with a pin where to start and stop. You can hand stitch it if you don't want to see that seam, but that seems too hard to me. Let's get this done, right? Trim everything up. Push your finger into those corners, because that will make the lining kind of stay put. And there we go. Our box pouch is complete. Here's our little medium ones. Okay, how was that? Not too bad, right? Let me know how it was. Let me know in the comments, thumbs up, share this video with a friend. That really tells YouTube that my videos are valuable and that they're worthwhile for them to show them to you when you come onto YouTube. So it really is helpful to help keep this channel going and for me to be able to provide more free tutorials for you guys. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!